The unforeseen crisis, 5 to 7 minute hook. The galaxy was quiet. For centuries, the alien race known as the Frel, once mighty and proud, had lived in peace. Their planet Nisar, a bright world filled with lush forests, vast oceans, and towering cities, stood as a beacon of hope in the galaxy. Their technology was beyond human comprehension, their weapons far superior, and their defenses impenetrable. The Frel had always seen themselves as the rulers of the stars. No one could challenge them. But that peace was shattered in an instant. One day, without warning, their sky was torn apart. A massive fleet, unlike anything the Frel had ever seen, appeared out of nowhere. The invaders were swift, their ships moving with terrifying precision. Their weapons sliced through the Frel's advanced defenses as though they were nothing. The Frel had never known fear until that moment. In their panic, the Frel turned to their greatest strength, technology. They rushed to activate their most powerful defense systems, but nothing worked. Their energy shields failed, their automated weapons were useless, and the once unbreakable cities now burned under the weight of the enemy's bombardment. Their leaders, who had ruled for centuries with an iron fist, stood in disbelief. The Frel had never faced an enemy they couldn't destroy. And yet, here they were, helpless before an unknown foe. The enemy didn't communicate. They didn't demand surrender. They didn't make any threats. They simply attacked with ruthless efficiency, destroying everything in their path. It was as if the invaders had no interest in negotiating or even making their victory known. They just wanted to break the Frel. The Frel had been through wars before, but this was different. This was something new, something terrifying. Their warships, once thought invincible, crumpled like paper against the enemy's weapons. Their cities, symbols of their dominance, were now reduced to rubble. The Frel didn't know what to do. Despair spread like wildfire across the planet. And then, at the darkest moment, when the Frel had nearly lost all hope, an unexpected thought occurred to the Council of Leaders. If their technology had failed, if their ships had been defeated, then perhaps there was something else, something that no one had considered for centuries. The Frel needed help. Desperate, the Frel contacted the only species they had ever dismissed as insignificant, the humans. For years, the Frel had looked down on humanity. To them, Earth was a small, backward planet, and its inhabitants were nothing more than primitives, struggling to survive on a dangerous world. They had never believed humans could contribute anything of value to the galaxy. But now, as their cities burned and their weapons failed, they had no choice. They sent a distress signal to Earth, hoping against hope that the humans might be able to help. It was a last-ditch effort, a desperate plea to the one species they had always regarded with disdain. But they had no other option. On Earth, the message was received with shock. The Frel, those once mighty beings who had ruled the galaxy, were now begging for help. The humans, too, were caught off guard by the news. They had always heard about the Frel's superiority, their dominance, and how they had looked down on Earth. But now, the Frel needed them. The humans, led by a group of seasoned diplomats and military leaders, debated how to respond. Should they help the Frel, who had once called them weak and insignificant? Should they risk their own lives for a species that had never shown them respect? It was a moral dilemma, but in the end, humanity's sense of duty prevailed. They knew that, despite the Frel's arrogance, they could not stand idly by while a species faced total destruction. The decision was made. The humans would send help, but the question remained. How could they, with their limited technology and resources, possibly defeat an enemy that had crushed the Frel so easily? As the humans prepared to make their journey to Nisar, they knew this mission would not be easy. The galaxy had always seen them as weak, as the underdogs in a universe of powerful species. But now, for the first time, humanity had a chance to prove themselves. This was their moment to rise above the expectations that had been placed on them. And as the human ships entered the Frel's space, the tension was palpable. The fate of the Frel's world rested in the hands of those they had once considered inferior. Could the humans succeed where the Frell had failed? The unknown enemy, with its unmatched power, waited for them. And the humans, driven by a sense of duty and honor, prepared to face whatever came their way. The clock was ticking. The Frell's planet was on the verge of collapse. The question echoed in every human mind. Could they truly save the day and turn the tide of war? The human response. The distress signal from the Frell had arrived on Earth, and it sent waves of shock through the highest levels of government and military command. The Frell, once the rulers of the galaxy, had fallen in battle. And now, they were asking for humanity's help. This was something no one had expected, least of all, the humans themselves. For years, humanity had been building its forces, preparing for the worst. They knew the galaxy was a dangerous place. They had heard the stories of powerful alien species, and they had watched as the Frell expanded their empire. But despite their efforts, humans had always been regarded as insignificant, a primitive species stuck on a hostile planet. But now, with the Frell's request, everything was about to change. As the message was received, Earth's leaders gathered in a secure conference room. Representatives from all branches of government, military leaders, and strategic advisors were present. The room was tense with uncertainty. The decision they were about to make would change the course of history. The human generals looked at the data on their screens. The Frell were clearly in trouble. The images showed their cities in ruins, their once powerful ships reduced to wreckage. The alien invaders were relentless. And now, the Frell were asking humanity for help. Some of the leaders felt conflicted. After all, the Frell had never shown humanity any kindness. They had always dismissed them as inferior. Why should they help a species that had never shown them respect? But others felt differently. Humanity had a moral duty to assist those in need, regardless of past relations. The leaders debated for hours, weighing the risks of helping the Frell against the potential benefits of standing by the side of the galaxy's most powerful race. In the end, the decision was made. Humanity would answer the call. The humans weren't foolish enough to think that they could simply send a few ships and expect to win. The Frell had the most advanced technology in the galaxy, and their enemy was far superior in weaponry and tactics. But there was something the humans had that no one else could match: ingenuity, determination, and the will to fight against all odds. The human fleet was quickly mobilized. Ships of all sizes, from small, agile cruisers to massive dreadnoughts, were readied for battle. These ships were not as technologically advanced as the Frells, but they were well designed, with the capability to outmaneuver even the most powerful of foes. As the ships prepared to leave Earth's atmosphere, a sense of purpose filled the crew members. They knew that this mission would not only be a test of their military might, but also of their resolve. If they failed, the Frell could be lost forever, and their own planet might be next in line. But if they succeeded, humanity would prove that they were not the weak, insignificant species the galaxy had always thought them to be. The fleet made its way to the Frell's world, Nissar. As they entered the outer reaches of Frell space, the human commanders received their first real look at the devastation. The planet was burning. The sky was filled with the smoke of destroyed cities, and the once pristine oceans had turned red with fire. The enemy ships, though smaller than the human dreadnoughts, were relentless in their assault. They moved with terrifying speed and coordination, striking at the heart of the Frell's defenses. The Frell had tried to fight back, but their advanced technology was no match for the enemy's superior firepower. The human fleet, meanwhile, moved into position, ready to strike. "Prepare for battle," the human fleet commander said over the intercom, his voice calm but firm. "We're about to show the galaxy that humanity is not a species to be underestimated." The human ships moved in formation, their engines roaring as they flew towards the Frell's homeworld. The alien invaders, unaware of the incoming force, continued their assault on Nissar, focused solely on destroying the Frell. As the human ships entered the fray, the tide of the battle began to shift. The enemy ships, surprised by the appearance of the human fleet, faltered for a moment. But that moment was enough. The humans launched their first wave of attacks, their ships unleashing powerful bursts of energy that pierced through the enemy shields. The battle had begun. The human dreadnoughts, though outmatched in size, were fast and precise. Their weapons, though not as advanced as those of the Frell or the invaders, were deadly. The humans used their ships' agility to outmaneuver the enemy, striking at weak points and creating chaos within their ranks. The Frell watched in awe as the humans fought. A species they had once considered weak and primitive were now fighting alongside them, turning the tide of battle in a way that the Frell had never imagined. The humans' willingness to fight, to push forward in the face of overwhelming odds, inspired the Frell to continue their own fight. In the middle of the battle, the Frell commanders looked at each other, their eyes wide with disbelief. The humans were succeeding. The tide of war was turning, and it was all thanks to these unexpected saviors. But the humans knew this was only the beginning. The enemy, though stunned, would not give up easily. And the Frell, despite the help they were receiving, were still in a fragile position. The battle for Nissar was far from over. As the human fleet continued to fight, the tension in the air was palpable. Would they be able to hold the line? Would humanity's unexpected heroism be enough to save the day? The answers to those questions lay in the hands of the humans, and the galaxy, once skeptical of their strength, would soon learn that they had underestimated humanity's true power. The battle escalates. The unexpected arrival of the human fleet had caught the invaders off guard. Their entire plan had been based on the assumption that the Frell would fight alone, without any help from the so-called lesser species. The invaders were confident in their superiority, until humanity entered the battlefield. Now, the balance of power was shifting. The human dreadnoughts surged forward, their massive forms cutting through the chaos like knives. They fired in perfect unison, their weapons tearing through the enemy's shields with ease. The invaders, still reeling from the sudden onslaught, scrambled to regroup. They had underestimated the human resolve, and it was a mistake they would come to regret. The Frell, watching from the sidelines, were stunned. They had never seen anything like it. Their technology was advanced, yes, but it had always relied on brute strength and overwhelming firepower. Now, they were witnessing a new kind of warfare, one that was fast, precise, and, most importantly, relentless. The humans, despite their smaller fleet and less advanced weaponry, fought with an intensity that took the invaders by surprise. They didn't fight like soldiers. They fought like their very survival depended on it. And in a way, it did. The human commanders had prepared for this moment for years, honing their skills and developing tactics that would give them an edge in any battle. They knew that they were outmatched in terms of technology, but they also knew that their strength lay in their adaptability and ingenuity. The human fleet was nimble, able to change tactics on the fly, and it was precisely this flexibility that allowed them to outmaneuver the invaders. As the battle raged on, the Frell began to regroup. They had been shaken by the human intervention, but their pride as the galaxy's most powerful race refused to let them sit idly by. With a renewed sense of purpose, they launched a counteroffensive. The Frell ships, equipped with advanced weaponry, began to engage the invaders directly. But even with their superior technology, they found themselves struggling to keep up with the humans' rapid-fire tactics. The invaders, realizing they were being outmaneuvered on every front, retaliated in full force. They launched a barrage of missiles aimed at the human ships, determined to wipe out this unexpected threat. But the humans were ready. With lightning speed, they executed evasive maneuvers, dodging the incoming projectiles and countering with deadly precision. One of the human dreadnoughts, the Titanus, led the charge. Its enormous guns fired with devastating accuracy, reducing enemy ships to flaming debris. The Titanus wasn't just a symbol of human might. It was the epitome of everything humanity had fought for: survival, resilience, and the unshakable belief that they could overcome any challenge. The Frell, seeing the sheer power of the human fleet, began to fight with a new sense of urgency. They couldn't afford to lose this battle, not just for their own survival, but for the survival of their entire race. The humans had proven themselves to be a force to be reckoned with, and the Frel would need every ounce of strength they had to keep from being wiped out. The ripple effect. The battle had been won, but the consequences of humanity's intervention were far-reaching. As the human fleet sailed through space, returning to Earth, the shockwaves of their victory reverberated across the galaxy. The Frel, still stunned by what they had witnessed, now faced a difficult decision. They were no longer the undisputed rulers of the galaxy. The humans had changed everything. The Frel government convened in a secret meeting, discussing the implications of humanity's actions. The reports were unanimous. The humans had displayed an unprecedented level of coordination, power, and resolve. No one could deny that they had earned the respect of the galaxy's major species. The question now was whether to continue under the assumption that the Frel were still the dominant power, or to treat the humans as an equal or even a potential threat. Among the Frel leaders, there was a division. Some argued that the humans should be brought into the galactic fold, their technological advancements and military prowess seen as assets to their cause. Others feared that humanity's rise would signal the beginning of the end for the Frel. To some, the humans represented the unknown, a species with a hidden strength that no one could fully comprehend. For the first time in centuries, the Frel were unsure of themselves. They had never known a race capable of such relentless aggression. And now, they had to decide how to approach these Deathworlders, these humans who had not only stood their ground but had turned the tide of war in their favor. Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity was still processing the magnitude of what had happened. News of their success spread quickly, with every human across the globe hearing about the battle and the impact it had made. People began to realize that their species was no longer just a small, isolated part of the galaxy. Humanity had earned the respect of powerful alien civilizations. Admiral Hartley stood before a global audience, addressing the world. "This victory is not just ours. It is a victory for all of humanity," he said. "We have proven that, despite our humble beginnings, we are a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy will now know that we will not back down. We fight for our survival, and we fight for each other." His words sent a wave of pride through the people of Earth. Humanity, once considered insignificant, was now recognized as a powerful force. But Hartley knew that this victory was only the beginning. The universe was vast, and the challenges ahead would be even greater. Yet for the first time, humans had a seat at the table, a table that had once been dominated by species far more advanced and powerful. The news of the battle spread far beyond the Frel's borders. Alien species from across the galaxy began to take notice. Some were eager to learn from humanity's unexpected tactics, others fearful of the rise of a new power. The galaxy was changing, and the humans had become central to that change. As the Frel prepared for the possibility of new alliances or conflicts, the humans were already making plans for their next steps. Earth had proven that it could stand up to the most powerful races, but there was still so much to learn. Humanity had never before faced such challenges on a galactic scale. Now they would need to prepare for what was to come. But one thing was certain: the days of underestimating humanity were over. In the months that followed, humans began to strengthen their position in the galaxy. Diplomatic efforts were made with other races, some eager to form alliances, others still wary of the humans' sudden rise. The Frel, despite their initial fear, began to understand the value of an alliance with Earth. They knew that humanity could no longer be ignored. Humanity's influence continued to grow. The humans had proven that they were capable of holding their own on the galactic stage. They were no longer just survivors. They were now conquerors in their own right. Their warships, their cunning tactics, and their unbreakable spirit had all contributed to a historic shift in the balance of power. But as the humans continued to expand their influence, they couldn't forget the sacrifices that had been made to reach this point. The battle had been costly, and the road ahead would be even more difficult. The galaxy was vast, and its mysteries were endless. The humans had only begun to scratch the surface of what lay beyond their own borders. Yet, as they looked to the stars, humanity's resolve was stronger than ever. They had shown the galaxy that they would not be cowed. They had taken their place among the stars, and they would not relinquish it. The ripple effects of that fateful day would echo throughout the galaxy for generations to come. And somewhere, in the depths of space, other species watched with interest. They had seen what humanity was capable of, and they knew that the galaxy would never be the same again. The Deathworlders had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. As the human fleet drifted through space, their journey had just begun. The universe was waiting, and humanity was ready to face whatever came next. The rise of humanity. The shockwaves of humanity's rise did not stop at the borders of the galaxy. Every species that had once viewed Earth as a tiny, insignificant planet now had to reconsider. The Frehl were the first to experience the consequences, but soon other alien species were forced to reckon with the new reality. Humanity had arrived, and they were not just participants in the galaxy's struggles. They were potential game-changers. On Earth, the victory had become a rallying cry for a new era. The victory against the Frehl's fleet was still fresh in the minds of everyone. It had ignited a new sense of unity among the people of Earth. Old national divisions seemed to melt away as humanity united for the first time on a scale that was never seen before. The world governments, once divided by borders and politics, were now working together for a common cause: humanity's place in the galaxy. Humanity's newly found allies came from all corners of the galaxy, and they were quick to understand that Earth was no longer a lone survivor, but a rising power. The so-called Deathworlders, once thought to be too primitive to contribute to the galactic community, now had the attention of some of the most powerful races. Humanity's remarkable tactics in battle had won them not only a victory but respect. The stories of human resilience, bravery, and ingenuity spread far and wide. The galaxy's older civilizations, which had long since forgotten the importance of unity and survival, began to see Earth as a symbol of what they had lost. Some species even began to study human culture, history, and psychology to understand how such a young species could overcome such odds. One alien leader, Lord Kvar, who was among the first to offer a formal diplomatic alliance, was quick to realize that the human spirit had something that no other race possessed: a relentless will to survive. His species, the Xeros, were ancient and highly advanced, but their once unshakable resolve had softened over centuries of peace. The Xeros had come to value comfort, luxury, and safety above all. They feared that the humans, with their instinct to fight and protect, might remind them of everything they had once been. "You are too dangerous," Kvar admitted to the human ambassador, "but we cannot ignore you. Your resolve, your courage, your relentless drive to fight even when outmatched, is something that we do not have. The galaxy needs that, and we need to understand it." His words, while tinged with fear, revealed an important truth. Humanity's rise wasn't just about technological power or military might. It was about the unwavering spirit that pushed humans to stand and fight when all odds were against them. It was the will to survive, the need to protect loved ones, and the ability to adapt under pressure that made humanity an unpredictable force in the galaxy. Back on Earth, the mood was changing. No longer were humans just surviving. They were thriving. The once weak species now sat at the negotiating tables with some of the galaxy's oldest and most powerful races. And yet, even as humanity's influence grew, they remained grounded. The military leaders who had helped secure their victory, like Admiral Hartley, knew that this moment of peace and success was fragile. There were still threats out there. Alien species who had yet to make contact, or worse, races who resented the sudden rise of humanity. Still, Hartley had hope. For the first time in human history, Earth stood on equal footing with the other galactic powers. But he also knew that with power came responsibility. The next steps would be crucial. Humanity needed to ensure that they didn't repeat the mistakes of past civilizations. They would need to remain vigilant, wise, and humble, even as they reached for the stars. The Earth's leaders began to lay out their long-term plans. They built new fleets, expanded diplomatic efforts, and trained future generations of soldiers, diplomats, and explorers. Humanity was no longer a species content to remain hidden behind their planetary borders. They now had ambitions that stretched across the galaxy, ambitions to protect their newfound place in the universe, and to ensure that no one would be able to destroy what they had built. However, not all races saw humanity's rise as a positive change. Some, like the hostile Karmic Empire, saw Earth's sudden prominence as a direct threat to their own power. The Karmak were a militaristic species, known for their brutal approach to diplomacy. They had been watching humanity's rise with growing hostility, sensing an opportunity to either destroy or subjugate Earth before the humans could gain more allies. They began to form alliances with other galactic factions, consolidating their forces in preparation for an eventual confrontation. The Karmak were not fools. They knew that humanity was not a species to be underestimated, but they were willing to take the risk. Yet, for every new threat that emerged, there were more allies who recognized humanity's potential. The story of the human warriors who had stood firm against the Frel was told over and over again, becoming a legend in its own right. The battle had proven one thing: humanity would not go down without a fight. And the galaxy was beginning to see that humanity was no longer a small, insignificant species, but a force to be reckoned with. As the human fleet expanded its reach and made its mark on the galaxy, the tension between new alliances and emerging threats escalated. Would humanity stand strong in the face of rising dangers, or would the weight of their newfound power prove too much? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain: humanity was no longer the underdog. The galaxy had learned that when humans took a stand, they would not be easily defeated. The age of humanity's rise had only just begun. The gathering storm. As humanity's presence in the galaxy grew stronger, so did the intensity of the challenges they faced. The Karmic Empire, along with a growing coalition of other hostile factions, began to make their moves, sensing the need to strike before humanity's influence spread further. These threats, while formidable, did not shake the resolve of Earth's leaders or its people. Admiral Hartley, now leading a vast coalition of human and allied fleets, stood at the helm of humanity's future. His face, though stern, was etched with the weight of responsibility. He knew that Earth was no longer just a protector of its own people. They were protectors of peace in the galaxy. Their rise had brought about both admiration and fear, but most importantly, it had brought change. The Karmic Empire's relentless military expansion was the biggest threat. They were a brutal species, driven by a desire for domination and control, and they had been watching humanity with growing disdain. They had underestimated the human spirit and had come to realize that Earth's newfound military strength could no longer be ignored. The Karmak had their eyes set on Earth's most vital resources, its strategic location in the galaxy, and its unique technological innovations, which they believed could tilt the balance of power in their favor. The tension between the Karmic and the newly formed human alliance was palpable. Every intelligence report confirmed what humanity's leaders feared. An invasion was imminent. The Karmak were gathering forces, preparing for an assault that could shake the galaxy to its core. They saw Earth as a threat to their dominance, and they would stop at nothing to crush the humans before they could grow any stronger. On the other hand, the galaxy's more peaceful races, those who had allied with humanity, were growing increasingly concerned about the growing hostilities. Their fear was not just for humanity, but for the stability of the entire galaxy. If the Karmak succeeded in their mission, it would set off a chain reaction, one that would drag the galaxy into a massive war. The hope of maintaining peace in the galaxy now rested on humanity's shoulders. The alliances humanity had formed were under pressure. Some species, while outwardly supportive, had reservations about humanity's aggressive approach to defense. They worried that humans, who had risen so rapidly, might one day be too powerful to control. Others saw the growing tension as an opportunity to align with the Karmic Empire, hoping to secure their place in the galaxy's future under the Karmic's reign. These shifting alliances created an unpredictable situation that only added to the anxiety gripping the galaxy. In the midst of these galactic uncertainties, humanity's leaders worked tirelessly to prepare for the impending conflict. Admiral Hartley knew that Earth could not rely solely on brute force. Humanity's greatest strength had always been their adaptability, their ingenuity, and their ability to come together when faced with a common enemy. The battle for Earth's survival would require more than military might. It would demand unity, intelligence, and a relentless drive to protect their way of life. Hartley called together the leaders of Earth's global coalition. The room was tense, the air thick with the weight of what was to come. There was no denying the danger they faced, but there was also no time for hesitation. "We need to be ready," Hartley said, his voice firm. "The Karmak will not wait for us to prepare. We must strike first, before they get the chance to break our defenses." The room fell silent. Everyone knew the risks. Preemptively striking could escalate the war and make enemies out of potential allies, but waiting could result in catastrophic losses. Humanity's leaders weighed the decision carefully, knowing that one wrong move could change the fate of the entire galaxy. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Karmic Empire's war machines were already on the move. Massive dreadnoughts, armed to the teeth with weapons capable of tearing through fleets, were being deployed toward Earth's territory. It was only a matter of time before they would enter human space, and once they did, it would be a race against time to either defend or face annihilation. For the first time, humanity was facing an existential threat from a force that had been watching and waiting for the right moment. The Karmak's advance was unstoppable. Their warships were too large, their firepower too devastating. But humanity had one advantage that the Karmak had overlooked. Humans had the element of surprise. The galaxy had yet to fully comprehend humanity's potential for both innovation and ferocity in battle. As the Karmak forces drew nearer, Admiral Hartley made a bold decision. Rather than wait for the Karmak to strike, he initiated Operation Dawnstrike, a preemptive strike designed to hit the Karmak before they could reach Earth. The mission was not without risks. A full-scale assault on the Karmak would be a challenge of unprecedented proportions. But humanity's military had proven time and again that they were capable of overcoming the odds. And now, they would face their greatest challenge yet. Back on Earth, the people were unaware of the dire situation their leaders were facing. The rise of humanity had brought hope to billions across the planet, but it had also painted a target on their backs. Families continued their daily lives, unaware of the silent preparations being made in orbit above them. However, there were whispers of the impending war. Some feared what was coming, while others rallied around the idea that humanity would not go down without a fight. As Operation Dawnstrike began, humanity's fleet mobilized in a show of strength that had never been seen before. Massive ships, each one capable of leveling entire cities, took their positions. The galaxy watched as Earth's warships moved into position, preparing for the battle that would determine the fate of humanity, and perhaps the galaxy itself. In the darkness of space, the first shots would soon be fired. The stage was set. The gathering storm was about to erupt into full-scale war. Humanity had no choice but to fight back, and they would fight with everything they had. The future of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. The battle for the galaxy. The moment the first shot rang out in the silence of space, it marked the beginning of a conflict unlike any the galaxy had ever witnessed. Operation Dawnstrike was no longer just a military maneuver. It was humanity's declaration that they would not go down without a fight. The Karmic Empire, with their vast fleets of heavily armored ships, were marching forward with relentless determination, expecting to crush the human defenses with overwhelming force. But they had underestimated one crucial factor: humanity's unwavering will to survive. As the Karmak ships advanced, they found themselves facing an unexpected enemy. Humanity's fleet was smaller in numbers, but it was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Every human warship was a marvel of engineering, designed not just for power, but for innovation. Their weapons systems were unpredictable, using cutting-edge technology that the Karmak could not counter. From railguns that could pierce the toughest armor to energy shields that absorbed enemy fire and redirected it back at them, humanity's ships were both deadly and resourceful. Admiral Hartley stood at the helm of the flagship, the Vanguard. His eyes were fixed on the view screens as the Karmak ships closed in, their massive forms dwarfing the human fleet. But Hartley wasn't concerned about their size or their numbers. He had a plan, and it was working. Each fleet had a role, each ship a purpose in the grand scheme of the operation. "Deploy the first wave," Hartley ordered calmly, though inside, his heart raced. It was now or never. Humanity had put everything on the line. Across the battlefield, the first wave of human fighters shot forward, their small but nimble ships darting through the vast expanse of space like wasps on a mission. They were fast, efficient, and designed to hit hard and fast, traits that the Karmak were unprepared for. The Karmak ships, slow and lumbering, were easy targets for the human fleet's advanced weaponry. The battle raged on, with explosions and flashes of light lighting up the dark expanse of space. Human ships weaved through the battlefield with precision, utilizing evasive maneuvers that baffled their Karmak enemies. Even the larger human warships, though slower, packed a punch. The Karmak's initial confidence quickly turned to confusion and fear as their own warships were ripped apart by weapons they had never seen before. Admiral Hartley watched in silence as the human fleet executed their plan with devastating efficiency. The Karmak had believed their superior numbers would guarantee them victory, but humanity was proving them wrong. Time and time again, the Karmak ships were thrown off balance by humanity's unpredictable tactics. Every move they made seemed to be countered by something they couldn't understand. Then came the turning point. The Karmak had sent in their largest and most powerful battleship, the Reaver, a terrifying vessel designed to destroy entire fleets with a single shot. It had been their trump card, and it was headed straight for Earth's heart. The Reaver's weapons were capable of annihilating everything in its path. But humanity's forces had one final weapon, something even the Karmak had not anticipated. In the darkest corner of the battlefield, the massive human dreadnought, the Titan, slowly powered up. It was the last of its kind, a symbol of Earth's resolve, and a weapon of unimaginable power. The Titan had been lying in wait, hidden from the enemy scanners. As it powered up, its weapons came to life, and with a single shot, it sent the Reaver spinning out of control, tearing apart its hull in an instant. The Karmak were stunned. They had never expected humanity to possess such a powerful weapon. The Titan wasn't just a ship, it was a message to the galaxy. It was proof that humanity had come to the table not just to survive, but to dominate. As the Karmak fleet began to retreat, humanity's forces pressed forward, cutting them down with relentless precision. The battle was far from over, but the tide had turned. The Karmak knew that they could not win this war. Not now, not with humanity's strength on display for all to see. Admiral Hartley allowed himself a rare moment of satisfaction as the Karmak ships fell back. He knew this was just the beginning. The battle had been won, but the war was far from over. There would be more challenges, more battles, and more sacrifices. But humanity had proven something that day. When pushed to the edge, they would fight back with everything they had. As the Titan and the rest of the fleet regrouped, the galaxy took notice. The Karmak Empire, once thought invincible, had been humbled by the very species they had underestimated. Humanity had shown that they would not be ruled, that they were no longer a fledgling race in the galaxy. They were a force to be reckoned with. The news of the human victory spread across the stars, and those who had once feared humanity now saw them as a powerful ally or a dangerous enemy. Earth's future had been secured, but the path forward was uncertain. There were still enemies out there, but humanity had just proven that they could hold their own. And as Admiral Hartley looked out into the vast expanse of space, he knew this. Humanity was not just a player in the galactic stage. They were the ones setting the rules now. The galaxy would never be the same again.